Right, I think this is just going to be a quick video just to acknowledge the fact that it's probably 2 years to the day where I started my channel, Jim's Palms, here in the UK, and just a little bit of why I started the channel. I mean, I enjoy watching YouTube, a lot of other videos about the tropical style garden and that, and I do, you get inspiration and knowledge from other people's videos, and I thought I don't really do a lot of I don't know, sort of care videos, if you like, or 100% sort of plant focused videos, individual plants. I do buy a lot of plants, so I do plant hauls, and I do sort of vlogs, if you like, of what I'm doing and how the garden's going. So I believe the very first video I ever done, there was snow on the ground. It was a fairly mild winter, the last 2 winters we've had. But yeah, the very first video I'd done was a sort of garden tour of the back garden here, and like I say, snow on the ground. And so, I mean, if you go back to the very first video, obviously yes, the garden's probably going to look a bit different, because I have brought palms since, and maybe some of the palms that were already in the garden have got bigger. But yeah, so done a lot of talking about the cold damage we sustained from that 2-week freeze period. But a lot of the big mature plants, and I'm not saying this is not a mature garden by any means, but I've got the odd mature plant which I think I've been in this house for 16-17 years, and these cord lines I brought with me from my old house. They were very small potted specimens, so these actually we kept them in pots, so they didn't go in the ground straight away, because the garden was a very different layout then. But as I had a reasonable sized garden, I wanted to get into the garden, and I just brought whatever plants I could at the time. I weren't really into the tropical style as such, but yeah, the garden has evolved to be sort of fully tropical style, if you like. But yeah, some of the early plants, so these have been in the ground probably 10 years now, and yeah, they didn't really have any trunk when they went in, so they don't do very well in pots. They need that big taproot to give them a good chance of getting any height. And yeah, I suppose these are maxed out now, so we have got some mature plants, and like I say, that freeze period is not too much of an issue for established large specimens like this. I'd imagine sort of -8, -10, they might take damage. You might get the odd dead head, but we can see a sort of multi-stem towards the top there, and quite a nice canopy on it. So they are quite mature plants, again, with some of the bamboos and the Canariensis here. These sort of went in probably a similar time to cord line, so these are sort of 10 years in the ground now and doing okay. So the bigger specimens, which have seen plenty of winters and cold spells, yeah, really starting to, well, Canariensis over the last few years have really sort of done well. So this is not a plant I was concerned about. Yeah, so I mean, going on from the sort of history of the garden, so a lot of these plants down the bottom end here were more, they've been in the ground 10 years plus, and they're I'd say sort of quite mature plants. I know the Canariensis will get a lot bigger than this, but going from that to a lot of the, I'd say the shade border is the youngest part of the garden, and sort of early on when I got into the true tropical style garden, like 4 years ago, we really started, you know, taking the whole garden in the tropical direction. And so yeah, a lot of this shade border is still very young. So a lot of these fatsias, I've got like fatsias dotted about all along here, all different types, and they were all very small plants when they went in. So these are fairly slow growers. So you know, you're going to spend a lot of money if you want an instant mature garden. And I think half the fun of it sometimes watching stuff grow. And I always say, you know, when it comes to sort of shadier tropical style plants, they're going to be slower growing, but they are going to be sort of hopefully a bit hardier than, you know, maybe obviously cannas and stuff like that. You can get good height on them within a year or a growing season. But yeah, I'm not going to go through, you know, growth rates of all different plants. I mean, basically, if you've got the money and you're really into it, then by all means, you know, get specimen plants. For me, it's, like I say, lucky enough to have some sort of mature plants to start with, to give me that inspiration to get into the full style of exotic or tropical style garden. But you know, I'm always going to be buying plants. I'm always going to lose a few plants here and there, testing the hardiness of them. And you know, I'm always going to be changing the garden to an extent. There's always going to be situations where I want to swap out plants, and in worst case scenarios like this superstar, which is not looking good at all, you know, replace them if they get lost during the winter period. I done an update on the cordyline on the other side of the garden in the previous video to this, but this one is looking a lot worse. I mean, it's lost all its colour in most of the leaves. But again, the good sign is the trunk is still sturdy, and the centre spear is not pulling and it's not collapsed. So that may be, whereas the other superstar was a lot more colour to some of the lower leaves, this one may be a bit of a touch and go situation. This may be a 50-50 whether that pulls through or not. But again, until we try, we don't know. And a lot of stuff that you expect to be hardy, you know, it only takes that one-off prolonged freeze and you could lose. But again, half the fun is replacing the plants or growing new plants yourself, you know, from seed, whatever. Yeah, so really I was going to do a quick one just to acknowledge the fact it's the 2 years of the channel, and I'm going to keep going. Like I say, I mean, I don't get upset if I lose a plant here and there. You know, at the end of the day, you know, that's a bit of a gamble, isn't it? And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but in general, you can. What I certainly do is anyway, especially when it comes to sort of half-hardy palms or cordylines and that, you get them when they're small and grow them on in pots. And you know, when you do have a bigger plant that dies off or you lose during the winter, then you've got something to replace it with straight away. Or the fun of that is also you go out in the spring and do a bit of plant shopping, which we all enjoy. Yeah, so 2 years of the channel, I'm going to keep going. Thanks for watching and supporting me.